Are we here? Hey, Jay.
We're here.
Hey,
There he is. There he is. What's happening, my man? How you doing?
Oh, you tell me. You tell me. How are you?
I could not be better. I am so perfect I can't stand myself. You believe any of that?
What's going on, everybody?
I do.
I'm sorry to hear that for you. No.
Yeah, no, things are good. I am trying to figure out why the Buffalo Bills have just hired Joe Brady. But I'm not a Bills fan, so it's not really anything I'm going to lose sleep over.
Yeah, it's well, can I give you my first idea, my first thought why? All right, a couple things. Okay. I think one, they wanted to hire someone that was Josh Allen friendly. Josh Allen has also been part of the process. And I think their number one goal was to hire someone to make Josh Allen happy. Now, can I say this? And I hope I'm wrong because I have friends who are Bills fans. I don't think that's the way you go about hiring a coach, to make sure he can be buddy with the quarterback or makes the quarterback happy. Me and you, in my life, it's about you need to hire a coach who can be the CEO of the team, who can set a culture of winning and accountability, and who can be a leader through the good times and the bad. And if the quarterback and him don't smooch, oh well. But I think you need to build for those things and not because the quarterback and the new head coach can go, have a bloomin' onion at Outback.
Oh, it's great, if you want him to be buddy, but you don't give all the reasons that Terry Pagula did last week in firing a 9-year coach who'd been to the playoffs 8 times, and then go out and hire somebody off of his staff who's even younger and less experienced. That's not. I mean, I look, in theory, probably more than in theory, what you just said about the why is correct, but it goes counter to what the owner said in terms of, new direction. We've hit the wall. We need, right. Whether you read between the lines or read the lines themselves, this hire would not seem to mesh with the reasoning behind the firing of a very popular, very successful head coach at a place where it's difficult to win because, you know what, Terry, let me step outside the box for a second, because I remember one time, and things have changed now in these two places amongst a few others, but I remember one time talking to the late, great Dan Reeves about certain teams, and I remember it was more specifically about Detroit. But he mentioned Buffalo, too, after Buffalo fell on really hard times after that great run in the 90s. And in so many words, Coach Reeves said, guys don't want to go there. Like when you pick them, they don't have a choice. But right. The guys that can, whether it's, remaining after the draft and signing a second contract or being picked up in free agency, people don't want to go there. They don't want to live there. They don't want to play there. And it's hard. Well, and then so through the draft, the Bills this time around have been able to get one of the great quarterbacks of his generation, and it's paying dividends. But it's still hard to win there. And Sean McDermott found a way to make it better, and now they're going to build a new ballpark and all these other things. And, that town's been starving for something great. I mean, that the stadium is old, man. I mean, old. Like Nixon administration
right.
old.
Like
or
Nissan Stadium.
Older than that, maybe.
Old.
I'm not sure. So it just, look, I know most people around here aren't going to care that much, but this just happened a few minutes ago. So just seems, again, to run counter to a lot of the reasons that the billionaire owner gave for making the move. Again, from a very successful eight playoff runs in 9 years, man.
Yeah.
That's I don't care what NFL franchise you are. That's not easy to do.
Well, and the other part about this, too, to your point, is, all right, so you get rid of Sean McDermott, and you also, remember, criticized the coaching staff for the choice of Keon Coleman, remember?
Yeah.
Who's part of the offensive coaching staff, Jay?
Yeah, again, right. It runs counter. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it doesn't. So I think your theory is more in line with reality, we don't want to upset Josh. All right. Well, I mean, I don't know, Terry. You may. I don't have it in front of me right now. I don't know how many more seasons Josh Allen is locked into his contract in Buffalo, but I'm under the impression that he's not looking to be a free agent after the coming season.
No, not at all. And I guess the other part of this to me is Joe. My guess is this: Joe Brady has had success. Obviously with that iconic LSU offense and won a national title with Joe Burrow and all those NFL players, kind of resurrected his career in Buffalo with Josh Allen. And I've read this, to be fair for a second, that Joe Brady was so impressive in his first interview in Baltimore, he got a second interview. And the other part of this, too, and look, you and I know how this goes as well. Joe Brady probably interviews well. Joe Brady probably saw what Terry Pegula is really looking for. It doesn't take a genius to sit down and tell Terry Pegula what he wants to hear, right? Yeah. Joe Brady knows the room. He knows that Pegula wants to make sure that he keeps Josh Allen happy. Josh Allen's part of the interview process, which I think is a little dangerous. But so, again, Brady can read the room. And he can leverage that gig, and Pegula already wants to make Josh happy. So here you got the guy who's been sitting with Josh for like the last 3-4 years, and all of a sudden, boom, you have a head coaching hire that you and I both sit here and scratch our heads and go, what? Really?
Yeah.
Hey, hope it works for him, man. That's all I can say.
Yeah, good luck. I mean, you still got Josh Allen, so that that's the most important part.
Yeah.
You still have the guy on the field, but if Joe Brady's the guy to usher you into your new era and your new home and all those things, maybe.
But you know what?
He is.
You know what? Really quick, and this has hit me. What's the one thing? Not only us, and we've talked about this on the show, but you hear a lot of people talk about the problem with the Bills. Too reliant on Josh Allen. Everybody jump on Josh's back and he'll carry us to the Super Bowl. Well, now you made him part of the interview process for the head coach. The head coach, the perception is Josh's boy got the job. So all you're doing is piling on more of the Josh, be the hero and carry us to the Super Bowl. How about, okay, Josh had turnovers in that championship game, in the divisional round, but also your defense is old and aging and injured. You got other problems everywhere. What's Joe Brady going to do to help all that? What's the defensive coordinator? Who's that going to be? Is Brandon Beane going to get better at bringing in the players to help them? All this is just, again, you're not addressing your problems. You're just trying to make Josh happy. I don't know, man. We'll see.
Well, good luck to Mr. Pegula.
Exactly.
But,
good luck.
Again, that just came down in the last hour or so, or within the last hour that the Bills have made their hire. So we'll see. I have a poll question. I haven't done enough of these of late, and I feel bad about that. So
I wonder why you haven't been.
Well,
you've been a little busy. You've been a little busy.
I just haven't. But today I have put out a Twitter poll question. Here it is, and it's local-ish. After Dabo Swinney launched severe tampering allegations against Ole Miss, the NCAA has opened an investigation to the claims. What do you think the outcome will be? 4 choices. A heavy Ole Miss punishment. B, a light Ole Miss punishment. C, a really stern letter. Y'all don't do that again now. Or D, not one thing. And I was going to put not one damn thing, but I just decided to put not one thing. But if you want to add that in as like emphasis on just how little will be done, then feel free in your own mind if you choose that one.
Can I be honest? And I hope I'm wrong, because you and I are both kind of take the same road on this thing, that it's just slimy and something needs to be done about all this. Once a kid signs on the dotted line and he's in class and he's in team activities, that this sort of ridiculousness shouldn't happen anywhere across the country. I have a feeling that your D is going to be what happens, nothing. And I hope I'm wrong. I'll
give everybody a chance. I just threw this out right before the show, so got a few votes in. I'll give it a chance to get a few more before we give some results. And this will run through the afternoon and into tomorrow, so there's plenty of time for you to vote and weigh in. Eddie has already weighed in with one comment, says they don't have any rules to back up any action they take. He means the NCAA. Yeah. And Yeah, Eddie, you're probably right. I think they might have some rules. It's just that right now they're so afraid to enforce any of their rules for fear of litigation.
But, Jay, they do so well in court.
I know, yeah. I watched Andy Staples and Ari Wasserman on this, and they played like 6 or 7 of Dabo's. They played or cut 6 or 7 cuts from Dabo's presser on Friday, and it was interesting how they portrayed it because I think they agreed that there are issues here. I think they agreed with Dabo trying to explain it the way he did with tampering. Dabo kind of put it into college classes, tampering 101, tampering 201, tampering 301. He called what Ole Miss was doing with the Fornelli kid tampering 301. And, again, if you don't know a lot about what happened here, Clemson signed a kid from the University of California, from Cal. I think he was the defensive player. The
defensive rookie of the year, yes.
In the ACC. Good player, has a lot of promise. And again, leaving the education you can get at the University of California to come east and play football means you really want to play football, which is good. But Cal has had players go to the NFL. I digress. But anyway, Clemson had him in school, had his financial aid agreements all signed, had not, as of yet, finalized his NIL deal, though. And Ole Miss knew that. And Ole Miss used that against Clemson, then basically came back, kind of figured what Clemson was going to offer for one season and doubled it or maybe more. And in so many words, Dabo instructed his personnel guy, his general manager now they call him. Dabo's in charge, but
right.
Whatever labels you want to place on people, said, no, we're not going to play that game. And so the kid left Clemson and went to Mississippi. And Dabo's pretty hacked off about it. And I get it. I don't know that anything's going to be done either, Terry. But the fact that they have at least opened an investigation is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But again, beyond that, I'm not sure what's coming from this.
Right.
I'm really not. So anyway, if you want to vote, go vote. Again, I'll leave that up for a bit. Again, heavy punishment, light punishment, a really stern letter.
I love that, a really stern letter with exclamation points.
Yeah, or not one damn thing. That's your 4 choices that you can vote on at J. Phillips 107.
Hey,
we'll update this shortly here, and I'll give you some early
And
results.
to back that up later on the show, Chase Parnham from Rebels 24/7 was on the Garnet Trust Hour with our buds from Gamecock Central and Tyler. And Tyler grabbed us about 3 cuts from that conversation that we'll play later on the show. The Ole Miss side of the whole thing, which I find quite interesting. From the Ole Miss perspective.
I want to hear that. And I want to come back, Tara, on the other side, because speaking of things like this, which I know turned a lot of people off of college athletics, unfortunately, until we fix it, CBA, we're into these things. But there is new information, if you have not yet heard, out of Durham when it comes to the Darian Mensah case. So we'll get into some of that, too. And in about an hour from now, the voice of the Gamecocks, Derek Scott, will join us. And we won't be talking about these things with Derek, unless he wants to. We'll just talk hoops and stuff.
Darian Mensah, we'll get into the soon-to-be Miami quarterback and his separation from Duke next here on the postgame show.
Allegedly.
Jalen Tart punching the buttons. Jay's here. It's Terry. We go till 6 on the Game and the Game Network. All right, post-game show, we are yapping about Darian Mensah at Duke. Jay Phillips, Terry Ford, Jalen Tart.
I do have breaking news. I have breaking news.
Uh-oh, go.
Diego Pavia, who had been listed at 6 foot 209 pounds all season.
Can I guess? Can I guess?
Please.
I want to hear this.
5'10".
You're really close.
5'9" and 7/8", 198 pounds.
Shocking, Jay. They never do. They never do that.
Breaking news. And there's a quote from him that says, "My size has been doubted my whole life." And if you stop and think about that for a minute, it's like, yeah, no kidding, dude, because you always say you're 6 feet. Now, I know what he means, Terry.
I know, but still, that is funny.
I know what he means.
They're doubting my
people
size.
have doubted me because of my size.
But it comes off like people have been doubting my size.
Because I've been saying, yeah. So it's just kind of funny.
Well,
that
you're
he
right,
has
though.
that
We doubt
quote.
your size because we all looked at you and said, "There's no way in hell he's 6 foot
You're
tall."
not 6. Yeah, you're not 6 feet tall. But anyway, 5'9"
Phenomenal.
and 7/8 is young Mr. Pavia at the Senior Bowl, the official measurements at the Senior Bowl.
Okay.
So
Diego Pavia.
for those who were maybe had a wager on that with their friends after seeing him standing next to the other Heisman finalists and going like, "Dang, dude, you
Wow.
are not tall."
You are not 6 feet tall.
Yeah, because I think our boy Fernando's a legit 6'4". He's pretty tall.
So let's say they've overestimated him. He's still a good 6'3".
He's okay. Yeah,
If not
he's
6'4".
tall.
He's big.
Yeah, I don't know, but he's whatever they list him at, I'd say that's what he is.
Yeah, he's in the neighborhood. But yeah, Diego
and then I
Pavia,
think
this
the
does
other
not
guys-
surprise me at all.
And look, running backs aren't always tall, but I think Jeremiah Love he's pretty big he's pretty tall for a running back.
Yeah,
And Julian Sayan's probably 6 feet tall, right?
right.
Yeah.
I remember my favorite one was Charles Barkley at Auburn was 6'7". When he showed up in Philly, he was magically 6'4".
6'4".
Really weird.
And in the Hall of Fame, man,
Yeah,
Charles
really.
Barkley. God.
Really, I love watching Barkley play.
They got
Barkley was-
Fernando.
When Barkley slimmed down after his first few years in Philly, he was still a big dude, but he got some of that baby fat off of him.
Yeah.
He was unstoppable. He pulled down
By
a
the time-
rebound, take it down court, throw down a dunk, throw a behind the back pass. Barkley was phenomenal, man.
He was great.
He was
I
so
loved
good.
watching Charles Barkley play.
My favorite story of Charles Barkley was when some dude in Milwaukee wouldn't leave him alone. He threw him through a plate glass window. And they asked him, "Why don't you have security?" He goes, "I got security, my left and my right."
Yeah, Charles knew what was up, man.
You didn't mess with Charles.
He knew what was up.
You did not mess with
All
Charles.
right.
Anyway,
so again,
Darian
I have a-
Mensah, here we go.
Yeah, I'll come back to my poll question in a bit, but if you haven't heard, Darian Mensah, who had a really good year at Duke, they won the ACC championship game. They did have 5 losses. I think only one of them in conference, though, Terry? Is that right?
They had 2 conference losses, I believe.
2 conference losses?
Yes,
Okay.
2 conference losses. They lost to UConn, brother. UConn had
yeah,
a
I
good
know.
year, but still, come on.
They lost to UConn. I know they lost to Illinois out of conference. He had some turnovers in that game. Anyway, he had a solid season.
Yeah, he was
I'll
really
give you his
good.
numbers here. Hold on one second, and I had him here.
I think he led the nation in passing yards, or the Power 4 in
3,900
passing.
something. Right?
Yeah. 35 touchdown passes, I believe, something like that. Explosive plays down the field. I think he was 5th in the country. I mean, he had a hell of a year. He's a really good
He
quarterback.
did. He had a good year, but he was he announced very late on the last day of the portal being open. He announced he was going to enter the portal, and this was after he had signed his agreement to play for Duke next year.
And did a video that he was coming back.
Yeah, and was going to make, at least from what we understand, was scheduled to make $4 million to remain a Duke Blue Devil for one more season. Miami clearly has come in, so everybody believes. It's not official yet, and offered more. Again, whether or not he can start school at Miami right now is an interesting kind of caveat to all of this, but we'll see. But today it was announced this morning that his agency and Duke helped bridge an agreement between the parties that will allow him to leave Duke immediately. He had been able to enter the portal, but prevented from joining a new school based on a court ruling in Durham last week. And he was scheduled to have another hearing I think next Tuesday. Obviously now that's done because the case has been settled, so that won't happen. But no terms have been disclosed, and I suppose they don't have to be, Terry. This is, if you think about it, these are two private schools. Mm-hmm. Not that Miami itself is involved in this, but Duke is a private school. And this can be technically seen as a private matter. So, FOIA requests and things like that won't matter here like they do at state schools.
Right.
So, and sometimes you can even keep those things private. Hey, I'm no lawyer, but more than anything else, and again, this kid's agency, we commend Darian for his extraordinary professionalism, maturity, and unwavering commitment to making the decision that best serves his future and his family. Professionalism and maturity, I'm not sold on those two words with how this went down. If you knew you wanted to leave, you should have done it without leaving Duke in the lurch. And I think he understands that, but I don't expect his agency to say anything other than glowing things about him.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Go ahead.
I don't know what kind of precedent this sets now because it's been settled and we don't know what the terms are. So I think this is a really bad look. I know it's part of where we are, and I know a guy like me who says, hey, we got to accept these things. I personally, as a fan or as a media member or talk show host or whatever, can't have it both ways. So I, like a lot of people, just have to allow these things to blow on the wind until such time as that wind settles down, Terry. But I can certainly give my opinion on this. I don't like it. Again, I think it was handled poorly. I do not think it was handled maturely. I feel for Manny Diaz and Duke. I think they got screwed in this because of, again, the timing of it all. The fact that Duke has said some nice things is interesting and would lead me to believe that they have been made financially whole or at least financially fulfilled as best they can in this situation. But still, don't like it overall. And again, we don't officially know where Darian Mensah is going to play, but all signs seemingly point to him being Miami's number one next season.
Now, once again, this is scummy. Just like the whole Ole Miss Clemson thing, it's just scummy. Kid, 3 weeks before, makes a big video kind of playing on the LeBron decision thing. Let's run it back. He's going to Duke. Day the portal ends, Miami's allegedly is trying to find a quarterback because they keep striking out. They focus on Mensah, probably gave him a gigantic offer, bigger than Duke's giving him. And, again, he sees it. Eyeballs get big. Agents' eyeballs get big. People around him eyeballs get big. And, boom, here we go. He runs off. Duke gets screwed at the end. Miami's going to get what they want. I hope it fails miserably. Did I say that out loud? And the sad part of this is just, again, the adults. The adults always are the ones, and we always scream at these kids, and they're not kids, these young adults. But here this guy is Mensah. Nobody around him pulled him aside and said, we don't care what Miami's offering. You said you're staying at Duke. $4 million is a pretty nice cake for a guy in his early 20s. You're going to stay and be a man and honor your commitment because that means something. Nobody did that around him, and he didn't do it. And he's a young adult, so he gets blamed here too. And then Miami, the adults there. You know what gets me? All these schools are screaming for rules, right? Oh, Congress, help us, help us. Why? Because you bleepers are going to break the rules anyway, first chance you get. I mean, there's a level that don't want rules, Jay, because they benefit, like the Miamis and all the schools with money. They don't want rules. They can go poach players and do the scummy stuff like this, and really, it's not against the rule for a kid to go back in the portal. So they're playing that rule. I got to go take a shower talking about it. All right, what do you want to do next, sir? What do you want to do next?
I want to read more of the statement that his agency put out, and then we'll come back and revisit our Dabo poll question.
All right, we're going to go a little bit more of this Darian Mensah ridiculousness next here on the postgame show.
I want people to hear how silly some of this is.
It's so silly. Jay, Jalen, Terry here on the Game and the Game Network. We are talking about the ridiculousness that was this whole statement from Darian Mensah's agency here on the postgame show, Jay and Jalen and Terry. First of all, read the name of the agency, Jay.
Young Money APAA Sports. I don't know what APAA
in the world
stands for. Young Money APAA Sports. That's the name of the agency. I don't know much about them.
You don't? They don't represent you?
That sounds like a rapper label.
It does.
It does, doesn't it?
That's
it really
crazy.
It does.
It does.
I'm waiting to find out. Like Young MC is actually who does this. Or
that would be
like
good.
That,
Well, we haven't heard from him in a long time. Why not? Right?
Yeah. Young MC is no longer young, but Bust a Move is still one of the great rap tunes.
Bust a Move is cool. Absolutely.
Nevertheless, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'll read a portion of it here because again, it makes Darian Mensah sound like he's up for Man of the Year or something. He says, we're honored to represent, or actually the statement, he doesn't. The statement from the agency says, we are honored to represent exceptional athletes, their families, and in this case, it has been our privilege to stand alongside Darian Mensah and those closest to him. Through close collaboration and principled negotiation, we have successfully navigated an unprecedented path, one that has now reached a fair and mutually agreeable resolution. We commend Darian for his extraordinary professionalism, maturity, and unwavering commitment to making the decision that best serves his future and his family. His approach throughout this process exemplifies the highest standards of character and integrity. With that foundation in place, we are pleased to announce that Darian Mensah, supported by our team of legal counsel and Young Money APAA Sports, has reached a settlement agreement with Duke University. Darian extends his sincere gratitude to Duke for engaging in good faith discussions and reaching this resolution. He wishes the Blue Devils, Coach Diaz, the staff, and the entire fan base continued success in the seasons ahead.
But when I think of this whole situation, I think integrity and high moral fiber.
Yeah, highest standards of character. No, and I'm sorry. Look, and again, I mean, I know some of you may be going like, well, what do you expect him to say? I don't expect anything different, except that maybe you say less and simply get your point across that you've reached a settlement. Again, turning this kid into something
he's not Mother Teresa.
Yeah, he hasn't cured disease.
No.
He hasn't ended wars. He hasn't look, and we can be flippant about it or not. He did not handle this well.
No.
And I think most people who follow college athletics agree he did not handle this well. He literally waited, and when I say it, he literally waited until the last minute, and he left Duke in the lurch.
Yep.
And he knew all along, or at least this Young Money APAA sports agency knew all along, that he was being chased. But until such time as they probably had something in writing, something firm from those chasing him, Miami, then they didn't do anything to tell Manny Diaz and Duke, maybe you ought to be looking for another quarterback.
Yes.
Maybe, I'm thinking of, at least give them – and that's what ties this in, Terry, to the Clemson situation, is that this kid Fornelli kept telling, and Dabo has the conversations via text and whatnot, that this kid was telling Clemson for a few days, no, I'm not leaving.
Right.
I'm good. I'm not going anywhere. Y'all don't have anything to worry about. Call my agent. He'll tell you. And the agent says, hey, if you want to double the offer, we'll help you bust Ole Miss. But otherwise, my boy's good. What are we, there's nothing to worry about here. And then the agent gets a call, and he's like, oh, crap, let me see what's happening. Stop it, bro, because
really?
If you really got caught with your pants down, what kind of agent are you?
Right, you suck as an agent. Yeah.
Yeah, so, again, these two cases intertwine a little bit in the sense that you have left your one school in the lurch. And I realize, Gamecock fans, you might be going, Jay, it's Clemson. I don't give a crap.
Right.
I get that. And if you feel that way, that's cool. I'm not here to defend Clemson or cry a river for Clemson or Duke for that matter. But if you're going to complain about some of the things that are going on, then where they happen may be less important than why they happen and what can be done to try and fix this.
Two thoughts.
And I do think, collective bargaining will fix this when somebody signs a deal and locks them in place. But if we don't have that right now, and look, if these two sides want to negotiate, Terry, like I said, Duke has clearly been financially fulfilled in some way.
Well, that's what's happened here. Duke has been given money. My guess will be by the school that poached Mensa, Miami. And so Duke will feel good. They're getting financial compensation for what is going on here. And in return, Mensa gets to leave and go play for some school, Miami, that we don't know. I'm guessing that's what happened. Look, there's two thoughts here for me. One is, and look, I get it. Gamecock fans, you don't care what happens to Clemson. You just hope it's bad. But here's the thing that you need to think about. This could be you next time.
Yeah.
That's what you got to think about. This isn't about Clemson. It's not about Duke. It's about you don't want this happening to you. And as long as there are loopholes like there are, this could happen to you. What if this was Dylan Stewart? What if this was Lenore Sellers? That's the point. And that's what you got to think about. Like, look, to me, one thing the NCAA...
These loopholes, Terry, these loopholes are the size of like a 10-lane interstate.
They're gigantic. I mean, they're like sinkholes in a yard. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, one thing the NCAA could do, and they won't, is, again, because they'll go to court and get their brains beat in like always, but at least try, is put in a rule that says once, a player has a signed agreement for their name, image, and likeness or their rev share or whatever, that is a binding agreement. Now, again, you're going to go to court and lose most likely, but you got to try, Jay. You got to start trying again. I know that you suck in court. I know that you've been beaten constantly like the Washington Generals, but you just can't. But I know what they're doing. They're sitting back going, you wanted anarchy? Have at it. It's the purge. Enjoy yourselves. Kill each other. But this is not fair, man. What happened, what has been going on here is just not right. It's not fair. Duke thought they had a quarterback because he made a video. He said, let's run it back. He was in. Duke's not in the portal trying to get another quarterback. And then the day the portal is closing, they lose their quarterback.
Right.
That is such a pile of hot garbage, man. I'm sorry.
And again, you look at the case of Damon Williams out at Washington. The belief as to why he remained at UW is that his contract was rather ironclad. Now, again, what different schools have in terms of that language is very telling. It certainly appears that Duke had a contract that was enforceable, but was challengeable at the same time. And how much time does that take? What does a judge say? Again, this judge in Durham had allowed Darian Mensah to enter the transfer portal but not enroll at another school. Conversely, Luke Fornelli, the kid at Clemson, now at Mississippi, was enrolled as a student at Clemson, had a financial aid agreement at Clemson, but his NIL deal was still being finalized. Now, that may be the fault of Clemson, some would say, and because his NIL deal wasn't finalized, Mississippi continued to pursue him.
And that's the loophole.
I still wonder, though, Terry, if the kid – I mean, look, Darian Mensah is an ACC student being pursued by another ACC school and had a signed rev share agreement. So what's to say that even if Fornelli had a signed rev share agreement, that Pete Golding wouldn't have continued to text him in whatever class he was in that day?
It wouldn't have mattered.
And show him a contract worth $2 million.
It wouldn't have mattered.
I don't know.
Because, again, they're not employees. So the contract isn't enforceable as an employee contract, 1, and 2, there's nothing against these kids jumping right back in the portal during the portal. They can jump in the portal 10 times. The other thing, though, what Washington did real quick before we hit break, the Big Ten has put some language in these contracts about buyouts and the money you have to give back, and that's what stopped Williams from leaving was the buyout money. Other conferences and other schools should see what the Big Ten did and copy it. Absolutely.
Well, I'm sure they're looking at the language. There's no
absolutely.
Jay or
nay?
One of the things the SEC is going to do.
We'll get some Jay. No, we got to do the vault. That's next here on the post-game show.
And I'll give you some Twitter updates too.
Nice. We're going to get to the vault here in just a second. Got a good one today. Very highly, one we can laugh about to a point, but it's just a head shaker going back about 20 years now, I think it is. About 20 years.
When I was a Jet, a young lad.
This goes back, man. Jay, you'll remember this one, and we will laugh at the ridiculousnesses. I want to get the exact year of this really quick, and then we'll get to it.
I was
2010.
a young lad 20 years ago. I don't know what Jalen's trying to say.
2010, I was the fifth grade, I think.
Yeah, were you? God, I feel old.
Yeah.
I feel old, Jay. Jalen was in 5th grade.
15 years ago.
Hey, Jay.
No way. How old are you?
I didn't. No, this was the 6th grade. 6th grade, 7th grade?
16 years ago, man. What grade were you in 2010, Jay?
I was in 9th grade.
I was in 11th. I'm a couple years. I got a couple years on you. I was in 11th. Anyway, all right. This day in 2010, this guy did something really screwy. Hit it, Jalen.
The 4 takes a glance with 3 to 2 for the winner.
And another game winner here by Gilbert Arenas.
Gilbert Arenas, you can cut the highlight, Jalen. Gilbert Arenas, who we forget was a good player for a period of time in the NBA. But Gilbert Arenas is more remembered for this, Jay Phillips. On this day in 2010, Washington Wizards' Gilbert Arenas and Javarius Crittenden are suspended without pay for the remainder of the NBA season by Commissioner David Stern. Both players admit to bringing a gun or guns into the Wizards' locker room, a violation of the collective bargaining agreement, after a dispute stemming from a card game on a team flight. Oh, wait a minute. You wanted poker on the team flight. I think I need to bring a gun to the locker room.
Yeah, I don't get things like that.
You remember that, don't you? Agent Zero, the great Agent Zero, Gilbert Arenas, brings the gun to the locker room. Him and Crittenden had a thing over a card game.
Did Arenas play for the Suns as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he did. Gilbert Arenas was a good player, but he's more known for being a total airhead.
All right, help me out on his college. Did he go to Arizona?
Arizona. Okay. Good player at Arizona too.
Yeah. All right.
Yep. By the way, Wikipedia says he has an electrifying personality.
Sure.
Yeah, why not?
Sure.
Bringing a gun on a plane's electrifying. Played also for Golden State and the Wizards. And I think after the Wizards, his time with the Suns after that.
Okay.
And I think that wrapped it all up. But
all right.
So, yeah, Gilbert Arenas and Javarius Crittenden, they decided that they were going to bring guns to the locker room to settle a beef over playing cards.
And when you violate the CBA like that and you miss time, you also miss pay, correct?
Yes, you do.
Wow.
Yes, you do. Also, by the way, he played for the Shanghai Sharks in 2012 and 13.
Oh, sure. Love the Sharks.
In the CBA. I have Shark gear.
Big fan.
Me too.
Big fan.
So, yeah, that was today in the vault. We highlight Gilbert Arenas and Javarius Crittenden bringing Glocks to the locker room to settle a beef over a card game.
All right. Well, good for them, and hope it all worked out well.
Yeah.
I don't think it did, but anyway.
Hey, wait a minute. You said go fish. Where's my Glock?
Yeah,
Anyway.
right. Do you have any 8s? All right, poll question. After Dabo Swinney launched severe tampering allegations against Ole Miss, the NCAA has opened an investigation into the claims. What do you think the outcome will be? A, heavy Ole Miss punishment. B, light Ole Miss punishment. C, a really stern letter. D, not one thing. Right now, we've done this. We had this up for just over an hour. 58% of you say not one thing. So well over half, not one thing. 26% believe it'll be a really stern letter. 12% a light Ole Miss punishment. And 4% do think Ole Miss is looking at something pretty severe, Terry.
Yeah,
So
I wish the 4% were right, but I think the 58% are going to be correct.
Again, the NCAA today acknowledged that they're looking into this. How long it takes, who they're going to speak with, all remains to be seen. No one at Ole Miss, nor the Fornelli family, apparently, at least I think Pete Nakos of On 3 has attempted to contact Luke Fornelli's dad on multiple occasions and has not heard back. And no one from Ole Miss, as of yet, has said anything about this. So we shall see where it goes next.
All right, hey, Gamecocks put out a new hype video. I'm going to play you some audio from that in the 4 o'clock hour as well. It's the post-game show. Jay and Jalen and Terry on the game. CHW Cabinetry, you want cabinets of the highest quality and a job that is done to fit your wants and needs and goals, and you want it done within your budget, and you want great customer service, and you want to see everything from beginning to end, full transparency, then you got to go to CHW Cabinetry. Star and the folks there in Lexington on 2-Notch, they will check every box I just brought up. Call 803-520-6837, 803-520-6837. I'm going to call into a fake voice and say, I want some cabinets in my car, and see if they do it. I bet you they will. Wherever you need cabinets, inside, outside, they will get the job done for you. CHW Cabinetry, 803-520-6837. Give them a ring right there in Lexington on 2-Notch. Photorealistic renderings, transparency, great customer service, CHW Cabinetry. Post-game show. Jay and Jalen and Terry were hanging out here till 6 on the game. All right, so South Carolina Gamecocks put out a hype video talking about basically last season and what's going to get corrected for this season. And Jalen, hit that real quick and let's listen to it.
We met with 110 of you, okay? Or however many are still standing after the season. We said, why are we 4-8? And these were our most popular responses. We don't know how to finish.
That'll do it. Carolina goes down again.
We weren't detailed.
That's the 12th tackle for loss. It's just been the worst possible scenario.
And our mindset. You will establish our identity on the field. You're either with us, calling yourself a South Carolina Gamecock, or you are making us fail. You are either making us better or you are making it worse with your presence.
So I made a point of trying to get guys in here that are older guys, that are natural leaders, that have played a lot of football. I said, if you love football and you love to compete, then you're going to love this place. If you have entitlement, don't come. If you're expecting me to just promise you some starting job, don't come.
If we're going to be a football team that we aspire to be, we've got to get better at our job. This is your job. The schedule will reflect you being better at your craft. All right? So we're going to learn our craft. We're going to learn what it is that you came here to do. How high of an intention can we see you for doing your job really, really well? Here's what we're going to do. By being badass coaches, we're going to do the best thing that makes your life better.
There's a long time until we kick things off against Kent State, all right? But it starts now.
So there you go. By the way, very well done and produced. They do a great job with this stuff, man.
They're phenomenal.
It is. All right, so you heard, Jay, about basically the things that the players voted that held them back and caused them to be 4-8. What do you think?
Yeah, we don't know how to finish. That one to me, and look, I don't need to know the percentages. They said these were our, I guess, most popular responses. But that one to me was rather telling because I think that's the one that probably hits home the most. I mean, South Carolina had opportunities in multiple games. We talked about it so often. Midway through the fourth quarter, you either had a lead or you were within 7 points of the lead. And I think in at least, I'm trying to remember now, Terry, but I want to say I know in at least 3 games, if not more, you had the ball with a chance to either tie or take the lead midway through the fourth quarter and couldn't do it. So, you controlled a lot of your own in-game destiny, if you will, and simply didn't get the job done. And so, that to me will be maybe job one. How you go about teaching that, I'm not really so sure. You need to go execute your plays. But I think, Shane, to one of the big points I know you have made that goes back to 24 and maybe was missing in 25 and something he told you and me during our Christmas interview with him, is that he did maybe think privately to himself, and I imagine he probably shared this with some staffers, that maybe we are not as experienced, as mature as we were in 2024, and how much of a difference is that going to make? And how much those things directly correlate, may be hard to quantify for the staff. Maybe not, Terry. I'm not sure. But there is a correlation. There's no doubt. There is a correlation there. And in this new era as well, that's one of the things that we're seeing with a lot of championship caliber teams is how veteran laden they are, and whether guys have played for one school or 5 schools or anywhere in between, that they're 22 and 23 years old. Some have guys that are even a little bit older than that. I know Miami's got a kid who's apparently going to play in 8th year. I don't know how the hell that happens anymore, but whatever. Those things are difference makers. Again, to what degree may depend on your team and talent level. but clearly that's an area that South Carolina knows it must improve upon. And if it's just as simple as experienced guys who understand more or who can better translate those feelings to their teammates. We talked a lot about a guy like Lenoris Sellers maybe not being the most vocal and natural leader, but quarterbacks, whether they like it or not, are automatically seen as leaders. And so how much more mature, if you will, if that's the right word to use, a guy like Lenoris gets and how that translates around the ball club, I think will also be very telling, especially in those late game situations, Terry, where South Carolina had the football and a chance to go win the game, or at least to make sure that they were still in the game with 5, 6, 7 minutes left to play. But I think that's the one I seize upon right away is we didn't know how to finish, and they didn't. They didn't, and it showed in multiple games.
And look, a lot of the bigger picture, like stuff like attention to detail, the right mental outlook or whatever, the right attitude, whatever it was, all of those to me encompass leadership.
Yeah.
A lot of it. And 2 years ago, look, the two best players on this team, legitimately, when it comes to ability, upside, ceiling, Lenoris Sellers, Dylan Stewart. Dylan Stewart starts right away as a freshman. Lenoris, his first year as a starter, as a redshirt freshman. 2 years ago, basically, they were looked at and said, hey, dudes, just go on the field and do your thing. We got a bunch of older guys here who will handle the leadership on both sides of the ball. You guys just go do you. And it worked very well. You had leaders, you had grizzled veteran guys like a Vershawn Lee, a Josh Simon, a Rocket Sanders on offense, Demetrius Knight, Kyle Kennard, Boogie, all those guys on defense that have been around or were veterans or married. And it worked because Lenoris and Dylan were just said, look, guys, go play football. Don't worry about leadership. Don't worry about this or that. Just go lead by your ability to go make game-changing plays, right? Well, those guys go away. And so you're asking these younger guys who were part of that team, okay, you watch those veterans, right? Now it's your turn to step up. That's great in theory, Jay, but some guys, it's just not what they're not built like that. And if guys who aren't built like that try to be like that, it comes off phony, right? It doesn't come off genuine.
Right.
And I think you had a thing last year where some of the veterans you brought in, they just didn't play well enough to be leaders because if you suck, you can't get up and lead, right? You just can't. I mean, you just got your butt whipped and you get up and try to talk to the guys and go, why don't you go get better? So I think you had an issue of that last year. And then you had the younger guys who were around for 2024. They just weren't natural, vocal, alpha dog leaders. And I think you had a very weird dynamic last year. Brewer said I love Ryan Brewer because Brewer looks at the sidelines. And he's always looking for the leadership on the sidelines when things are going bad, right? Mm-hmm. How many times did Brewer say to us he didn't see anything on the sideline?
Yeah, it was a few, man.
And the flip side, look at the A&M game. You can say what you want about Marcel Reed. You can like him as a quarterback, hate him as a quarterback, doesn't matter. When they were down big and they finally scored, Marcel Reed had that entire offense on the sideline with him, and he was pumping them up. And that's not a criticism of Lenoris. That's just saying there was nobody on the South Carolina sideline when that game was going sideways. Nobody was pulling the guys together. Fellas, we still got a lead here. Let's just go play football. We're fine. Let's not get what our buddy Preston calls lemon booty. Let's just play football, guys. We kicked their tail in the first half. Let's just keep playing. You didn't have that. And I think that's what was missing last year. In the big picture and the small picture was that veteran leadership. And to Shane's credit, and again, like you said it perfect, what Shane talked about with us around Christmas. And Shane went in the portal, and he got a lot of leadership. Got a lot of dudes that are veterans, that are older. And obviously you got to be able to play. If you just need old dudes, you and I go stand on the field. But I think the leadership piece out of all this, all these things that they voted on, to me, ends up at the lap of leadership. Attention to detail, finishing, the mental outlook or whatever. All that comes back to look, you and I have talked to coaches for all the years we've done this. Coaches tell you really good teams. The coach doesn't set the tone in the locker room. The leaders do. And I don't know if they had enough of that last year, just saying.
Yeah, and their head coach believes they did not. And he said as much in many different venues, including ours, and in that video you just heard from there. So I think that, and I was thinking, 3 or 4. I mean, look, at Missouri, at LSU, at A&M, home with Alabama. There's 4 right there where late game situations turned against you for whatever reasons, but that you had those opportunities. And I might be, if I'm forgetting one, somebody let me know, because Carolina didn't win but one conference game, right? So
right, and think about this, Jay. If you could finish, you beat 2 of the teams in the college football playoff.
Yeah, you
had them.
So,
you had them both.
Yeah,
just saying.
You had opportunities, no question.
Absolutely,
no question. Well, I mean, look, we'll find out what they've done. If we talked about the portal numbers, they didn't necessarily get a whole lot better. For whatever stock people put in the player rankings, they got better. Based on who left versus who came in. But to that point that you just made, a lot of that might be the intangible and not necessarily the straight-up talent. Maybe talent for talent, you're basically kind of 50-50. But did you get better with the intangibles? They certainly seem to believe that they did. So, and again, we'll find out, Terry. But you got 2 games against beatable teams before you get into a stretch of 9 straight games in the South.
And that's good. I think, look, and you and I both hate cupcake games. We can't stand them. But for their purpose of meshing this thing together, maybe those first 2 games where you feel like you should win and win rather easily will help you first build some confidence. You and I have always talked about this. Doesn't matter who your opponent is. If you walk off the field with a W and you play well, you feel good. Yeah. Maybe these first 2 games you can build confidence, get cohesive, mesh this thing together, and get some good feels, so to speak, as you move into those rugged 9 or 10 games ahead of you.
That's the goal, man. That's
we'll see.
The goal. And, and no spring game, so, I mean, that's going to pretty much hamper the whole season right there. No, I'm kidding. Kidding.
Well, man,
all right,
it hampers our broadcast.
Well,
we like doing the spring game, man. It's fun.
I think, hey, listen, I've done plenty of them. I think I'm going to go out on a limb and say 107.5 the game survives no spring game in 2026.
You know what we'll do? We'll have to have some kind of spring game. We'll get a bunch of people together. You know what? We'll do a spring alumni game.
We'll do the Pro Bowl thing. We'll have tug of war and
play some frisbee,
football.
A little frisbee. Yeah. Oh yeah, I think it'd be fun. One-legged sack races.
Sure.
Carry the egg on the spoon.
I'll be at the Heritage again. That's all I know.
All right, where do you want to go next, sir?
Derek Scott is going to join us next.
That's right. So Derek Scott will be next.
We have the voice of the Gamecocks joining us. Talk a little hoops and see what he thinks about as they hit the halfway point this week. Where can we find some silver linings? And see if this Gamecock team can find a way to put some things together. So Derek will join us in a minute.
All right, voice of the Gamecocks, our buddy Derek Scott. And by the way, Wednesday night, 8:30 pregame, 9 o'clock tip right here against Florida. And we will discuss that and the season so far for the Gamecock men next with the voice of the men's Gamecocks, Derek Scott, right here on The Game and the Game Network. It's a postgame show. All right, time to talk some Gamecocks. The men tomorrow night in action here on the game against Florida. Let's get Derek Scott in here. What's up, man?
Hey, guys. Long time no talk.
I know. You keep ghosting us. What's up?
Not only do they play tomorrow night, they play late, and I don't know how Derek feels about this since he has a job to do. I did notice that tomorrow night there are 4 games in conference. 2 of them feature Central Time Zone teams playing one another in the Central Time Zone, and both of those games tip at 7 o'clock Eastern, which is 6 o'clock Central Time.
God.
And 2 Eastern Time Zone teams play 2 games. One is Georgia hosting Tennessee at 7. Sure, that's fine. And the other is Florida at Carolina at 9 Eastern. So not really sure, Derek, who decided that, but here we are with a 9 o'clock tip, right?
There is so little about college athletics that is done logically that makes sense. It succeeds in spite of itself. So this is in no way surprising, but I had not bothered to look over the schedule to recognize that. So you saved my irritation for this segment. So thank you.
Yeah, sorry.
Now, Derek, let me ask you.
It's part of what I do.
Now, the young version of Derek Scott cared less about 9 p.m. tips than the older version, right?
Yeah, but I'll say this. My focus is always going to be on what gives you your best opportunity to succeed, and 9 p.m. does not help us from a crowd standpoint. It just doesn't. Yeah. There's numerous season ticket holders who aren't going to go that route. I hate it. I really do hate it, but I think it's something we've had enough years of history to know is a fact. So that's what bothers me about it. And you know, I mean, it is what it is. It doesn't bother me nearly as much until you point out the illogical nature of having a bunch of Central Time Zone teams playing at 7, or as you said, 6 in their world, and us kicking it around all day until 9. And I'm sure if you're the Gators, you're thinking about that late flight home and questioning it for, you know, your own reasons. But that's frustrating. But whatever, it is what it is. God knows every day you can come up with something in this sport or in college athletics that will make you want to have your own Dabo Swinney press conference and just start railing on people.
There you go.
Well, Derek, let's talk about this ball club. I mean, this week we'll hit the halfway point of the conference slate. And, you know, there have been some close games, but there have been a couple the other night where the team just didn't have it, and especially the style of play that A&M presented was not good for South Carolina. But the Gamecocks have had a lot of good Michi of late. That's one of the things I've been saying. Good Michi, which is something you want, and maybe not a whole lot else to support the scoring. And I was a little surprised to see Elijah Strong go 0 for 8 the other night. 14 minutes as a starter, where he had been playing pretty well. Kobe Knox had a good night, and again, Michi went for 26 and I think had 5 assists. So when you look at scoring right now, what do you see beyond Michi as something that must be improved upon, and maybe where that next step is almost there for the Gamecocks as you hit this point of the calendar?
Well, you don't have right now a steady second fiddle, if you will. Kobe Knox, the last 2 games, has certainly qualified. But as you pointed out, Elijah had a rough day in College Station. He got a couple of his shots rejected early. Just seemed like for whatever reason it was a bad matchup. And it almost felt like he's better against guys that are much bigger than him and less mobile, whereas he was matched up on Saturday with Rashawn Agee, who plays a very, very similar game, and that seemed to be the problem. But nonetheless, you certainly don't go into any game thinking you're getting a 0 out of Elijah, and then also Mike Sharam-Joms had a really, really rough game. So really, it was the 2 guys who tend to score more from 2-point range than 3-point range, who were unable to get it going. But no, you're right. A lot of that was matchup. People don't want to hear you make too much positive out of a 20-point loss, but I will say that, you know, that game's all even coming out of right at the 10-minute mark, and then A&M just went crazy and hit all those threes. And when a team hits 12 threes and a half, sometimes you just got to tip your cap a little bit, and they were doing all the things they do well, really, really well. And then, you play them even in the second half. So it was that 10-minute stretch, the second 10 minutes of the first half that just buried the Gamecocks. But all that being said, you do need more consistent performances from starters, because with Eli not there, this bunch just hasn't had a bench scoring threat that can really help out the starting five. So when you're relying that heavily on your starting five, you kind of need at least 4 of the 5 to have it going against, a top opponent. A&M has certainly proven to be that so far this year.
Hey, Derek, I mean, obviously, one thing about Lamont is he's very honest, very transparent, doesn't really hold back with praise or with criticism. What's the one thing, though, this year, and you guys talk with him post-game, you do it after every game, obviously, and you talk with him, away from the mics. What's the one thing that has been a consistent theme with him on why this team hasn't been able to get over the hump this year?
There's a few things that I could kind of choose from there in terms of the pain points, the frustration levels from Coach. One of those is certainly the inability to kind of fight through bad starts and keep your confidence level up. When you look at the three-point shooting, he pointed this out to me a couple weeks ago, and it hasn't really varied much, and that is all of our shooting percentages from three, nearly every game this season has either been below 30%, in other words, bad day, or well above 35%, really good day. The average days have been few and far between, and he thought he had a bunch this year that he could kind of take average day from three and count on it. And it just hasn't worked out that way, and it feels like whether the first couple go in tends to dictate how the whole day is going to go. So you look at where they finished up on Saturday, that was the rarity. That was, a 9 of 25, 36%. That's what he thought he was going to be able to sign up for every day with this lineup, and it just hasn't come to pass. But the other thing that I know has frustrated him with this team is just not being able to consistently keep a rotation together. The amount of guys who have missed, a game here, a game there, 2 games here, 3 games there, has been really frustrating. Some of it has been, just you can't help it. It's injuries. And then some of it is, I think, the lamentable fact that we all at our age go through of feeling like this younger generation doesn't understand the difference between playing hurt and being injured. There's a little bit more, hey, gosh, I really thought we might be able to get a little bit out of a guy tonight, and then it just, doesn't happen. And as a result, your rotation's been really incomplete. And that's frustrating. And certainly against A&M, you looked out there and you're thinking, if there's a day where we need everybody, all hands on deck, since they're going to run at you with full court press for 40 minutes and going to have hockey line changes and just really try and wear you down, that becomes real hard to deal with if you're playing a 7-man rotation. And his hands were kind of tied on that. And that was something that you thought was really going to be a factor as the game wore on. Now, I'm not going to say that's what, cost you the game, but it certainly didn't help the cause. And I know he'd really like to get back to a point where he has a bunch of healthy guys in practice that he can then take into the game and day over day have that group to work with. Now, that's not unique to South Carolina. Everybody deals with injuries, obviously. But I know that's been frustrating for him a lot this year, going all the way back to non-conference when we were at the Greenbrier and Miles Studi took that, concussion with a broken nose from friendly fire in practice. Wasn't anything egregious, just bad luck. And it just feels like we've been dealing with a lot of that this season.
Derek, got about a minute left. Last year, Florida came up here. Obviously, they won a national title, but Gamecocks played them really tough, and you could argue Carolina did everything to win that game. And Florida's smarting after a tough home loss to Auburn. What do you expect tomorrow night in terms of that matchup?
That's a great question. Teams like that, kind of like South Carolina's women's team on Sunday, you kind of thought they'd respond with some real fire in their eyes, and they did. And so I wouldn't be surprised if Florida comes in here feeling that way after the way they got handled at home by Auburn. But the thing about this Florida team is, at least to watch them, they just don't shoot the ball that well. What they have is incredible size, and they can play volleyball on the offensive glass sometimes against you. I saw a game recently. They missed 40 shots against LSU and won by 20. That's crazy. But that's just because they're so big and they are so strong, and they just go get their misses. So that's going to be, to me, the real key is, can South Carolina find a way with a smaller unit to somehow not just get, to kind of limit those second chance opportunities, because Ruben Chinyelu has just blossomed this year into an absolute monster, and that doesn't even speak for the frontline guys he plays next to, and Hal Condon, that were already super players up front. They're playing all three of those guys together now. It's 6'9", 6'10", 6'11", and none of those guys are, thin players. They are healthy, big, strong guys, and that's going to be really the challenge for South Carolina, to be able to battle with that size for 40 minutes.
Derek Scott, voice of the men in action, 8:30 pregame, 9 o'clock tip Wednesday right here on the Game in Columbia and our affiliate in Myrtle Beach. Derek, we always appreciate you, my man.
All right, guys, good talking to you.
Thank you now.
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll pop back in here. Some sound from the Ole Miss side of the old Clemson-Ole Miss debate. That'll be next here on the postgame show on the Game. let's get our first check on the traffic. We have an accident at Divine Street near Woodrow in Columbia. Also, a few other accidents and some slow traffic to get to. Faro Road near South Carolina 277, right there, obviously, where everything starts getting together before you get up on the highway and the interstates. Accident reported there. Slow traffic, I-26 westbound between Sunset Boulevard, exit 110, St. Andrews Road, exit 106. 77 southbound, we have an accident at 2 Notch, exit 17. Sunset Boulevard, like we said, also slow traffic between Mineral Springs Road and North Lake Drive. We'll come back, get the Ole Miss side of the whole controversy with the tampering. That's next on the postgame show here on The Game. All right, so we have heard Dabo Swinney in his 8-minute soliloquy about what went on with the tampering with the Clemson linebacker, Luke Farrelly, ending up at Ole Miss. Now let's get the flip side, Jay. Because on the Garner Trust Hour
sorta,
today,
right? At least sort of. If it was Pete Golding, it'd be even
the
better
true. But we have the I'm not going to say the totally 100% objective side, but just the Ole Miss side of this whole thing. Chase Parham from Rebels 24/7 was kind enough to jump on the Garner Trust Hour. And first of all, here are Chase's thoughts right out the gate in the conversation, his thoughts on the Dabo rant.
Surreal, I think, is the word that comes out immediately because you just don't see this. You don't see a coach go to this level. You don't see a coach point out detail, as you mentioned, basically text transcripts, allegedly, or whatever you want to call it at this point. And I had two thoughts. I had that thought, and then I had the thought of Clemson has been so behind in the transfer portal era, and that still is personified in so many ways as we're having this conversation, as this discussion, because the NCAA is in a weird spot here, guys. They have one or two choices or somewhere in the middle, and both complete options are bad. They can ignore Clemson. They can basically pat them on the head, say this is just the world we are in 2026, get over it, deal with it. We don't have any teeth. We don't have the stomach for it, whatever you want to call it. Or they can punish Ole Miss for something that everyone's doing, including Ole Miss having done to it within the last week. And again, this is not one of those, oh, well, you did it, so blah, 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 blah. That's not the point. The point is that this is so rampant throughout college football that every program then looks up and go, God, just glad it wasn't me if Ole Miss was punished. Plus, if you look at the actual punishments, it's a level 2 violation. It's at most Pete Golding being suspended for a game, the season opener, I guess, maybe presumably against Louisville in Nashville for the Rebels.
All right, so your thoughts before I get to mine. Feel free.
Okay. First off, I don't know what this has to do with how late Clemson as a program has decided to dip its toe in the portal pool. I know there's a twist of irony in there, and you and I talked about that, this may make Dabo go, dadgummit, this is why I don't do crap like this.
Right.
But that being said, once you're in, you're in. And then, one of the old adages, because listen, Terry, you and I have been covering sports a long time, and, especially college athletics. It's only cheating if you get caught, right?
Right.
Like that's kind of one of the old adages. So to say that the NCAA might not pop you because everybody's doing it, well, they've been doing it for a long time. Again, did you get caught? Let's face it, Clemson got caught twice in the 80s. And the second time around, Danny Ford knew exactly what he was doing. They were probably going to get caught again, and they did. Take that as you will, Clemson fans. Now, that goes back a couple of generations, but nevertheless. So I don't really know what that has to do with it either. If the NCAA, and again, just to remind everybody that's listening, the NCAA has opened an investigation into Mississippi in terms of Clemson leveling tampering charges against them. What comes of it, I don't know. Like most of you, I probably believe that the answer is nothing, or at least nothing to very, very, very little comes of it. And as that guest pointed out, it's not even a major violation should Mississippi be punished in some way. For Pete Golding to have to miss a game it's not great, but it's not the end of the world. Like he's going to be suspended for a whole season, or they're going to lose recruiting opportunities, things like that, Terry. So, I think there are a lot of people that are both applauding Dabo inside college football. That are both applauding him and at the same time going, dang, dude, why'd you do that? And I think both things can be true, even from some of the same people.
Yeah, I think that first answer of, like, hey, Clemson, everyone's doing this. Get in the real world, man. You got to hip like the rest of us and just start tampering. I think that answer is kind of interesting. It's like, okay, so basically, instead of taking a step back and saying, how do we fix this? Just jump in the kiddie pool and roll around in the pee.
And I'm not sure everybody's doing what Mississippi did.
See, I agree with you.
That was Dabo's point. This was a student at Clemson. Again, like Dabo said, messing with guys while they're still being recruited, even if they're committed, happens all the time.
Right.
Even maybe once they've agreed to something, but they haven't enrolled or it hasn't been signed, yeah, sure, you can still feel them out. But in the case of someone who is an enrolled student, I think that's where Dabo really kind of had his dander up.
Yeah,
I
don't disagree. All right, the next cut here from Chase Parham from Rebels 24/7. We appreciate him jumping on the Garner Trust Hour to give the Ole Miss perspective on this whole story. Chase says possibly this could be even a worse look for Clemson than Ole Miss.
I frustrated a lot of the Twitter contingent for Clemson the other day because I said in some ways, if that is the max punishment, it's possible that this is a worse look for Clemson than Ole Miss as we move forward, because Ole Miss fans are simply going, hey, Lane Kiffin and LSU offered one of our defensive tackles $2.5 million the night before the night the portal closed. He wasn't in the portal. We've been dealing with this. Welcome to our world. We got the player. He's going to be suited up in Oxford. Luke Farrelly, the all-ACC freshman linebacker, all that stuff. He's going to be playing for the Rebels this season. We just simply did what we had to do, whereas Clemson now, I think it's really complicated. In so many ways, it's, hey, Dabo's doing the right thing, and he's built his career off being – the moral high ground. And I don't mean that sarcastically. He has. He's sort of put forth this, hey, if you're committed, you don't take visits, all these different things. It's just not the world that is operating. It definitely is not the operating world in the SEC or at the top level of the portal. And I think it creates this odd juxtaposition where everybody's in a weird spot right now.
Yeah. I don't know if it's a worse look for Clemson.
No, I don't think so at all. No, I don't think it's a worse look for Clemson at all.
And I think I'm pretty sure it's Prince Yamamiel that they're talking about at Mississippi. Again, I don't know what his enrollment status was at the time of him deciding to go to LSU or what his NIL situation was. So, and I look, I get it. It happens to a lot. How many people called Lenora Sellers?
Sure,
all of them. How many people called Dylan Stewart? I guarantee you, all of them. Did they call Dylan Stewart last week?
Right.
I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe. I guess the one thing for me is if you want to say everybody's doing it, that's fine. Or most people are doing it, or it's being done to us. Like when it's
I don't know if Terry, I'm with you, and I'm sorry, but I don't think everybody's doing it to enrolled active students.
Well, that's the point. And the other thing here is, when it's happening to you, you don't like it, but it's okay when you do it to somebody else. The whole thing is like, why don't we all just admit that this is a screwed up system and it stinks and it needs to be better and everybody needs to be better and it needs to get better and somebody, God forbid, has got to get in charge of this thing at some point. Jay or Nay coming up next here on the Postgame Show on the Game and the Game Network. Ray. Going to do some Jay or Nay here in a second. How's your Twitter poll doing, my man?
Let me get that for you. Hang on 1 second here. Let's pull it up and hit the refresh, and I will tell you, after Dabo Swinney launched severe tampering allegations against Ole Miss, NCAA has opened an investigation to the claims. What do you think the outcome will be? A heavy Ole Miss punishment, light Ole Miss punishment, a really stern letter, or not one thing? Now 56% of you, so down just a tick. 56% say not one thing. 26% a really stern letter. 12% a light Ole Miss punishment, and now up to 6% from 4 last time we checked. 6% believe a heavy Ole Miss punishment. Got a couple of comments on here. Thomas says, not one thing. The NCAA hasn't done anything to stop or prevent any of this from happening. Also, they haven't really done a death penalty in a long time. Look, yeah, this wouldn't be eligible for any death penalty.
Right.
What SMU did in the 80s was beyond egregious. So, there's that. Jason says, nothing. Too many teams are doing the same thing. And this one from a guy who's just Gamecock lifer says the NCAA is a feckless mess of idiots. Wow. They have not and will not do anything. It's time for new leadership and enforcement.
I love it.
There you go.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
I do remind people sometimes the NCAA, remember, is technically speaking a body made up of its member institutions. But those who are the bureaucrats, perhaps, is where some of this ire is pointing.
I like that. I like feckless. Excellent. Yeah. All right, hit some music here, Jalen. Let's do some Jay or Nay real quick. All right, Jay or Nay, I tried to pull some of the audio of this, but unfortunately our production studio wasn't cooperating. Mike McCarthy was announced today as the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Man couldn't get through the opening sentence without snotting up, emotional about, taking over his hometown team.
Sure.
Jay or Nay on the hire of Mike McCarthy for the Steelers?
Yeah, it's a J. It's a J. This guy, he does know how to win. And, he won a Super Bowl. Then he had to go coach for Jarrah, where you don't really get to coach. You just have to kind of be out there in the dog and pony show. And now he'll go work for people who really let you go do your job. I'm curious and anxious to see what that looks like, because for as successful as Jerry Jones is as an owner in a lot of things, the one area where he's not successful is winning on the football field, at least to the degree they should relative to what they spend. The Steelers, on the other hand, again, the Rooneys are notorious for letting their people do their job. Some may say to a fault, because, it sometimes kind of wanes at the end for some of their coaches. But I like this hire. It's certainly against the grain historically for Pittsburgh, but I do think it's a good hire. And you and I were talking, just as an interesting side note, this man will now have coached the 3 most popular teams in the National Football League. No one's ever done that. He's coached the Packers, the Cowboys, and the Steelers, and those 3 do rank as the 3 most popular franchises in football. So that's kind of cool in and of itself, man.
Very interesting that you look at the 3 top, most iconic, probably national brands in the NFL. Mike McCarthy will coach all 3. How about that?
It's pretty cool.
All right,
yeah. But it's a good hire. Right? It's a good hire. But you know what? Get him. If the quarterback stays, great. Get that quarterback somebody to throw to, and they need a running back, and just shore up a few things on defense. He can do those things, but he's a good offensive mind. But they still need pieces, and they still play in a division with Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow.
All right, cut 2 here, Jalen. Mike Florio discussing the idea of moving the NFL championship games to neutral indoor sites. Hit it. That's cut 2, Jalen.
Because, yes, the snow looks great, but guys are slipping and sliding everywhere. How do we strike that balance? Well, as long as we have open-air stadiums in winter climates, this is going to be a risk. And I know we have fewer and fewer of them now. But as I was conversing with some of my friends via text message, I was reminded that there was a push, and it didn't last long. But there was a push from some in the league office a few years ago. Because remember, after the Damar Hamlin situation, and they got down to how are they going to resolve tiebreakers with one fewer game, and would there be a neutral site game in the playoffs? Somebody got the idea, and somebody was pushing the idea from within the walls of 345 Park Avenue to have neutral site conference championship games, to create like a college football vibe where half the stadium is in support of one side and the other half is in support of the other, or 70% Indiana fans in Miami, whatever the case may be, neutral site for the conference championships. And again, it never went anywhere. But if you had an issue with the fact that the plug was pulled on both offenses in Denver today, once the snow started to accumulate, it doesn't sound like that bad of an idea.
Jay or nay, Jay, on the neutral site games for the AFC and NFC championships?
All right, how long do we have left?
You got about a minute roughly, maybe.
Okay, then I'm going to give you 1 minute of nay, 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 nay. No, you earn it, man. You earn it. Over 17 games, you earned the right to be in your building for the chance to go to the Super Bowl. Period. End of story. Nay. Nay, 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 nay.
So you're on the fence on this one, I can tell. Hey, my man, always good hanging with you. Go get some rest. Come on back. We'll do it again tomorrow at 3.
Appreciate y'all.
We appreciate you, pal. I will talk to you tomorrow. We'll come back, give you the 5 o'clock news, sponsored by our Buds Integrated Media. That is next here on the postgame show. Terry Ford, Jalen Tart, Jay Phillips here on the game. All right, a couple accidents. Still have that one accident, Divine Street near Woodrow Street in Columbia. Also, 77 northbound at the Farrow Road exit, that is exit 19, and 77 southbound, Two Notch Road, exit 17. Those accidents still getting taken care of. Old Tamaya Road near Coon Road as well in Irmo. There's an accident still there right in front of Dutch Fork High School. All right, we'll go back in here. 5 o'clock news from our buds at Integrated Media. That is coming up next here on the postgame show right here on The Game and The Game Network, Columbia, Charleston, Florence, Myrtle Beach.
You calling for it? Yep. Heard.
All right, 5 o'clock news sponsored by our buds at Integrated Media here on the postgame show. Terry Ford, Jalen Tart hanging out with us here on The Game. All right, so Mike McCarthy was introduced today as the Pittsburgh Steelers head coach. McCarthy got all choked up just in the opening statement. I mean, he's from Pittsburgh. So the idea, he gets to coach the hometown Steelers, a franchise with a ton of tradition since 1969. And McCarthy, look, here's my thing. I think Mike McCarthy is a good head coach. He has an over 600 winning percentage. He's, I think, 11-11 in the postseason. He's won a Super Bowl. Has been to multiple NFC championship games. So the hiring of Mike McCarthy is not a bad hire by anyone. He's a good head coach. I mean, what he did in Dallas, the biggest problem with McCarthy in Dallas, they couldn't win in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But again, who's won in the playoffs in Dallas since Jimmy Johnson left? I'll give you the list. Ready? I'm done. Nobody wins in Dallas.
I think the last time I saw a Dallas playoff win was Tony Romo.
Yeah, they don't.
That was it.
They've won like 2 playoff games in 30 years.
Yeah.
I mean, it just, Mike McCarthy won double-digit games multiple times in Dallas. I mean, he actually got above and beyond dealing with Jar and made that team a playoff squad. He's a good coach. If you look at Mike Tomlin and Mike McCarthy and John Harbaugh, and I just put you blind resumes up, it's the same resume. They've all 3 won a Super Bowl. Tomlin has been to another Super Bowl where he was beat by guess who? Mike McCarthy and the Packers.
Mm-hmm.
All 3 have over 600 winning percentage. I mean, all 3 were more successful early in their tenures than they were later. Tomlin, people forget something. Tomlin had won a playoff game in almost 10 years. We seem to forget that conveniently for some reason from time to time because we all like Mike Tomlin. Bottom line is, if you want to say, okay, Green Bay just got another Mike Tomlin and record, like we just went over, okay, I get you. But McCarthy is an offensive coach. He was an offensive coordinator, came from an offensive background. Tomlin did not, defensive background.
And I think that's going to help them in the long run because for so many years, the focus for Tomlin is that he was a defensive guy. And now that you got an offensive-minded coach that has proven to win in the Super Bowl and that has worked with Aaron Rodgers as well, that could give, Steeler fans some hope, even though it's some mixed reaction in Steeler Town right now.
Look, here's the thing. If you're not going to rebuild, and the Rooneys got up and they've been telling everyone they're not going to rebuild, they don't like that idea. That word makes them throw up in their mouth. That's fine. But you look at the landscape of all these coaches that were candidates for gigs. This is not a deep pool of home run hires in thought. And at the end of the day, the Steelers went and got the guy they know can win. Now, to what level? That's debatable. We'll see. But Mike McCarthy is not going to crater at 4-12 or 3-14 or whatever. Mike McCarthy is going to go to Pittsburgh and they will win. To what level? I don't know. Look, Baltimore, Buffalo, and Pittsburgh, there is one consistent thread. You can make a case the front offices have failed the head coaches in the last few years. Pittsburgh can't get the quarterback right. Some of Pittsburgh's, drafting has not been as good as it used to be. I mean, they can't fix the quarterback position. Last time I checked, it's kind of important. Hey, Mike, here's Josh Fields. Wow, great. Hey, Mike, here's Mason Rudolph.
Right.
Might as well be Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Hey, here's 72-year-old Aaron Rodgers. We just got him out of his clay hut. I mean, this is your idea of fixing the quarterback position. And, Tomlin still found a way to make the playoffs with this mess. So there's things that have to get fixed in Pittsburgh that go beyond the head coach. And, again, Tomlin is a good coach. Will it be a good hire? Because obviously everybody in Pittsburgh wants to start winning playoff games again. That will be the final, I guess, was it a good hire or a bad hire judgment. But McCarthy's a good football coach. Just the media doesn't like him. All right, also today, the Bills promoted offensive coordinator Joe Brady as their head coach.
And he's not related to Tom at all, so yes.
Might as well hire Tom Brady.
How
about Marsha Brady? Why not?
Yeah.
Here's my thing. Joe Brady might be a great hire. I'm not around Joe Brady every day. I don't know what kind of leader Joe Brady is. I don't know what kind of culture builder Joe Brady is. I don't know if he can be a team CEO. I know he's a good offensive coordinator. That's what I know.
And this is Josh Allen's fourth offensive coordinator since he's been with the Buffalo Bills. It's crazy.
And the other part of this, he's buds with Josh Allen, and Josh Allen likes him, and Josh Allen signs off on this. And like I said to Jay in the 3 o'clock hour, it feels like the Buffalo Bills want to hire somebody that Josh Allen is boys with. And if that's one of the criteria here, that's not the way you hire a head coach. We'll see if Joe Brady works, and maybe it will. We've seen times in the NFL where a guy will take over a team that's successful but seems like he's hit a ceiling, and just the fact that he's not the previous guy, it works. Maybe just in a short term. It's sort of like that, new girlfriend syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
What do you like about that girl? She's not the old girl.
Right.
And could that be enough to push this team over the top? Because Joe Brady's known by the guys on offense. He's probably known around the complex as the OC. But can he become the head coach from being the offensive coordinator there? Will players on all three phases of the ball respect him as the leader and the head coach?
And then he has to win the locker room, too, with what they got to do in the offseason. So it's like, what are they going to do, and what type of staff does he want? And the question is, will Josh Allen bounce back from what happened in the playoffs, or will it get worse?
Yeah, look, Joe Brady obviously interviews well. He's interviewing for a bunch of head coaching gigs. The Ravens brought him back for a second interview before they hired Jesse Minter. So we'll see how this goes. On the surface, it's like, gee, we got to hire someone that Josh really likes. Hire. But I hope it works. And I hope Joe Brady can do what the Bills need to get done to get them over the top. But and then, again, like we talked about in the 3 o'clock hour, Terry Pagula, the owner of the Bills, got up in a press conference and basically threw the entire offensive coaching staff under the bus because they wanted Brandon Beane, the GM, to draft Keon Coleman, the wide receiver from Florida State. Okay, great. Guess what? You just hired a guy from the staff you threw under the bus.
How does that make you look?
Exactly. Just all of it. All of it feels it. The more you've watched since McDermott got fired, the more you go, wow, there's some dysfunction there, man.
Right.
And how the Bills been so successful? Maybe McDermott's held this thing together. We're gonna find out. But yeah, very
head scratching. That's the word I can honestly think of as head scratching.
I don't disagree with you at all. All right, so that's what's going on in Buffalo. Brian Dable's been hired as the offensive coordinator with the Titans. Dable, good offensive coordinator. Cam Ward will probably benefit from having Brian Dable around. Dable also good with Josh Allen in Buffalo. He's been an excellent tutor of quarterbacks. He helped Daniel Jones with the Jets and the Giants that first year, and the Giants made the playoffs. I think that's a good hire because that's what Dable is, an offensive coordinator.
I think so, too, because, and Cam Ward, he's a mobile dual-threat quarterback, and then it's similar, he kind of has a I'm not comparing him to Josh Allen, but in terms of him running the ball, it's kind of like a Josh Allen-esque. But with this hire, I don't see how you can compete with a Jacksonville and potentially an Indianapolis where you're getting a Daniel Jones back and they're retaining most of their head coaching staff. But Jacksonville just retained both their OC and their DC today. Yep. So they're going to be in contention for the AFC South. But it's a good hire for Tennessee.
I mean, I think Tennessee, I think this is what Brian Dable's wheelhouse is, offensive coordinator, quarterback whisperer. So that was a good move today. There's still some openings. Vegas still has an opening. Arizona still has an opening. I think there's one more off the top of my head I can't figure out right now. But
them Raiders.
Well, you have the Vegas Raiders. You've got also Arizona, and there's another one, and I can't think of it right now.
I'll find it.
Yeah, I just can't remember. But I think there's one more opening as well. Oh, Cleveland. That's it.
Yes.
Cleveland. So those three are still open. Is somebody waiting for Clint Kubiak, the offensive coordinator of the Seahawks? They waiting for after the Super Bowl to hire Clint Kubiak? Possibly. We'll see where this whole thing goes. But there's still three openings right now. And again, the talent pool, there's mixed results of some of these guys. So we shall see. All right, 5 o'clock news sponsor, our Buds Integrated Media here on the postgame show. Terry Ford, Jalen Tart, making sure we stay on the air here on the Game and the Game Network. Greg Sankey talking about the college football playoff meetings and kind of talking about maybe some of the behind-the-curtain stuff. Hit cut forward there, Jalen.
I have been told, I don't read this nonsense, that somehow there's this notion of we don't like it, don't get along. I have a great deal of respect for my colleagues, all of them. Yeah. And Tony and I in particular, excuse me, we spoke twice last week. We'll speak again this week. We're working on collaborative problem solving. And if we don't agree, that's okay. The 12-team playoff has produced something through the month of December into January. So now it's fascinating to see the narrative. Oh, it's too late. There's nobody in this stadium who thinks this is too late in January. There's nobody on these teams, and particularly Miami. If we were at 4, they wouldn't be here. Right. The format would have determined that. So we expanded. You knew you needed some more time. You're trying to respect traditions while doing something new and innovative. And so we talk through those issues. Do we always agree? No. Does that mean we just go our own ways and we never speak or try to solve problems? Absolutely not. And I think there's a lot of respect in the room, but there are different views. And working through that might be on someone else's deadline that doesn't work with the needs, but we'll keep trying.
Yeah, look, we get this idea all these guys hate each other or whatever, and they don't. They have jobs. Their job is to basically do whatever they can to put as much money as possible in their conference's pockets. That's what their job is. And we understand that. But that's one of the problems as well, is nobody's looking out for the best interest of the game. They're all looking out for the best interest of themselves. Mm-hmm. And that's the problem. And until you get an adult in the room, not to say that who's some kind of dictator, but just someone, because a commissioner in pro sports is not a dictator. He's paid by the owners pay him. But he looks out for the best interests of the game itself, usually from an ownership perspective, but he's looking out for the best interest of the game. No one's doing that in college athletics, and that's the problem. And then Greg Sankey says we're also trying to, hold on to traditions. What tradition?
Right.
The Pac-12?
It's 2026. Like, it's not.
You don't care about tradition.
Yeah.
You care about money. You care about TV. Look, if you cared so much about tradition, you still have a Pac-12.
Mm-hmm.
If you cared so much about tradition, Cal and Duke wouldn't be in the same conference.
Right.
If you cared so much about tradition, we would be seeing things that we traditionally saw years ago continuing to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Please, like my dad, Dean Ford, would say, don't pee down my leg and tell me it's raining. You just stop. You don't care about tradition. You care about moving forward and making as much money as you can, and that's fine. It's called evolving. You can spin it like that and say, hey, look, we're trying to evolve. We respect the traditions of the past, but we're moving to the future. That's all you got to say. Mm-hmm. Don't act like you care about the tradition of the sport. Because, look, most of these commissioners they're not from college athletics.
No.
Batiti's not. Your Mark isn't. These guys don't. These dudes don't care. They were brought in again to pile as much money in the pocket of the conferences as possible. They weren't brought in to help college athletics. It's just a reality. But that was an interesting little thing there from Greg Sankey about the behind-the-scenes stuff going on as all these commissioners talk about the college football playoff. Gamecock Notebook, good news about an incoming South Carolina freshman. We'll get to that next here on the postgame show. Jalen, Terry, we go till 6 here on the game. All right, Gamecock Notebook here on the post-game show. Jalen Tart running the controls. Terry Ford, appreciate you being here as we roll here on the game. Julian Walker, edge defender, South Carolina, got Walker to flip from Michigan to the Gamecocks. It's come out now, I believe Rivals has made Walker a 5-star edge, the number 15 player overall in the country in the class of 2026.
Wow.
We'll see how much run Walker gets next year, because again, you got some depth on obviously Dylan Stewart on one side.
Yeah.
What could Walker do coming from? How much run could he get from the other side? We shall see. But Julian Walker, there's some people who think Walker could get some snaps or significant snaps his freshman year.
Yeah.
But a 5-star by Rivals. So that's good news.
Do you see him starting?
No.
Okay.
I think he's a guy. I could see him being in a rotation. If he shows he's ready to play, I could see them using him in some kind of rotation and pass rush situations. Would not surprise me.
Yeah.
That I could see happening. But do I think he starts? No. I think Caleb Herring has the inside track for that. The transfer from Tennessee who had 5 sacks last year.
Yeah, him and Dylan Stewart. Ooh.
Well, I'm telling you, I would like to. I want to see just someone. I mean, look, Brian Thomas was solid last year across from Dylan Stewart, but you'd love to see somebody bring the kind of attention that Kyle Kennard did from the other side.
Yes.
That would be nice.
That would be great.
Yes. So we shall see where that whole thing goes. But if Herring can, bring heat on one side, that way if Dylan Stewart, let's be honest, Dylan Stewart's going to get doubled.
Yep.
He's going to get tripled. He's going to get chipped. He's going to be held. All those things are going to happen. And if someone on the other side can really say, oh, you're going to do all that to Dylan Stewart, good, I'm going to go knock the snot out of your quarterback. If you can get that consistently from the other side,
it's going to be hard to scout the defensive line if that does happen.
Who are you going to pick? And then you hope look, Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy was good last year in the interior when he was healthy. You got the kid from Illinois coming in from the portal whose name I'm not going to try because I'll butcher it.
No.
Who was solid last year. You've got some pieces up front where you should be improved on the defensive line. We'll see, but.
And I can only imagine like I've said this before, I can only imagine what practice would look like with Dylan Stewart and these young guys going up against the transfers that they got with the O-line. Peak is incredible, but it's what would that really look like in a practice versus a game? Like that would be an intense, practice game in and game out going week to week.
I tell you, it seems like we will not be seeing a spring game this year, which is kind of a bummer. Look, I know it's vanilla.
Yeah.
You don't get a lot out of it, but it will be fun to see some of these new dudes on the field just, doing glorified practice would be fun, but we're not going to see that most likely.
Yeah.
It's the way it feels. But Peak, Peak is looked at. He is looked at by On3. They're way too early top 100 players of 2026. He's looked at as the number 2 offensive lineman in the country behind the kid Smith at Indiana, who's just stupid good. So there's a lot of expectation on Jacarius Peak to come in, solidify left tackle, and set the tone for that offensive line. And then maybe Josiah Thompson then can compete for the right tackle spot. Maybe they'd move Thompson inside. I don't know.
And then, I just retweeted this about an hour ago. South Carolina rebuilt their O-line, and this offseason, now they have the most returning snaps among all of college football. You want to know how many total snaps they have?
Let me hear it.
8,797.
That's crazy.
And Nebraska is second with 8,389. That's a lot.
What you're hoping is you put 5 guys together out of all those snaps, and if your offensive line can hold their own, you don't have to win a Joe Moore Award, but just hold your own.
Yes.
If you can do that,
that's going to help Lenoris out with the protection.
A ton. You run the ball better. You can have time to throw. Your quarterback's not running for his life. Your running backs aren't going, I just got the ball and 7 guys are killing me.
Yeah.
It's better all around. If you could put together an offensive line, if it's Peak, Shed Surratt is back. There are pieces here to make an offensive line. And on 3, the Gamecock Central site had a great analytical breakdown. Our buddy Mr. Helms did a great job of putting together, some analytic perspective on the transfers. And the one thing that Helms said was that a lot of these guys are much better blockers if it's not a true pass set. A true pass set, if you look at Pro Football Focus, means an obvious passing down. These guys were much better blockers when it wasn't an obvious passing down, or it was bubble screens and short stuff. And a lot of what Kendall Browse does is bubble screens and short stuff and a lot of tempo and a lot of pace.
Mm-hmm.
So some of these linemen coming in, they are better blockers in those scenarios than just a true, it's 3rd and 9, I've got to backpedal and block and protect. So it's just very interesting stuff from Helms on the Gamecock Central side. One other little note real quick from South Carolina. According to our buddy Lou Bajak of the State, former South Carolina offensive lineman Corey Helms will be the next head coach at Chapin High School.
I saw that, and I was like, okay.
Thumbs up there. Good deal. All right, it's a Gamecock Notebook. We'll jump back in here. A drive around the SEC is coming up next on the postgame show right here on The Game. All right, in Blythewood, there's an object on the roadway. It's 77 northbound at Faro Road, exit 19. Accident reported at Sumter and Wheat in Columbia. Also, 2-notch at Polo Road as well. Again, object in the road, 77 northbound, right by the Faro Road exit. That is exit 19. All right, coming up tomorrow night, 8:30 pregame, 9 o'clock tip. The men will go at it, hosting the Florida Gators, 19th-ranked Florida Gators. Again, that is coming up tomorrow night, 8:30 pregame, 9 o'clock tip here in Columbia and our affiliate, Myrtle Beach. All right, real quick before we move forward, can you update on what's happening, NFL news, and we'll get to the drive around the SEC with the schedule tonight in the league. There's 3 games. All right, so before we get to drive around the SEC, Bill Belichick, not a first ballot Hall of Famer, which is interesting. He should be. The fact he's not is ridiculous. I'd love to hear the thought process behind that as all those dudes got in a room and screamed and yelled about why wouldn't Belichick be a first ballot Hall of Famer? He's not. That kind of makes the whole process asinine and not very legitimate. I'm sorry. Again, I care less about Bill Belichick one way or the other.
But he deserves to be in the Hall.
He should be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
They said he fell short. He had 40 of the 50 votes.
It's just,
it's crazy.
I want to hear why 10 people did not vote for Bill Belichick for the Hall of Fame. That's why I want to hear that. I'd love to know the reasoning behind that because it's silly. It's just he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. It's a no-brainer. And the 10 people who voted for him not to be, I want to hear it and hear the explanation because my first thought is if you don't vote Bill Belichick in, you should be stripped of your Hall of Fame vote.
Yes.
Because you're obviously a goober and have no idea what you're doing. All right. Also, Joe Lombardi has been fired by the Denver Broncos, the offensive coordinator, and that's simple. They have Davis Webb sitting there, who's their quarterback coach, and they don't want to lose Davis Webb because there's some talk. He's not, most likely not going to get a head coaching gig, but there's some talk he could be an offensive coordinator in some different spots. I think Denver wants to keep Davis Webb. He's got a good relationship with Bo Nix, and really Sean McVay runs the offense. It's Sean McVay's offense.
Yeah.
Sean McVay
Sean Payton.
Sean Payton, not McVay. Yeah, Sean McVay's offense. Sean Payton runs in Denver. What the hell? That's Sean Payton's offense. He's the OC. He runs the offense. He just needs an offensive coordinator, a name. They'll move Davis Webb up to OC, and they'll give him a bump in money, and that way they don't lose him. They don't want to lose Davis Webb because they like the work he does with Bo Nix. So that's why Joe Lombardi's getting fired, in my opinion, is to move up Davis Webb so you don't lose him. All right. And the Brian Dable hire in Tennessee to be the offensive coordinator, that's contingent on him not being hired by the Vegas Raiders to be their head coach. Brian Dable was awful as a head coach.
Yeah.
So it would not surprise me at all if the Vegas Raiders said, let's hire this guy. He was awful as a head coach. Let's make him our head coach. That would be so Mark Davis. And, Tom Brady's there, and everybody goes, well, Tom Brady's there now.
That doesn't really do anything.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
You saw, they hired Pete Carroll for 1 year, kicked Pete Carroll to the curb. Tom Brady was there for that.
Which was a waste. I still don't understand why they hired him. And he was a darn adjunct professor at USC.
Yeah. You don't hire Pete Carroll for a year. If you hire Pete Carroll for a year, that's a you problem. If in 1 year you go, now this Pete Carroll thing's not going to work, let's go get somebody else. Mark Davis's history says, once again, Mark Davis doesn't know what the hell he's doing. Forget Tom Brady. Again, Tom Brady's there. Great. Is he making real decisions? I don't know. But now, if you hire Brian Dable as your head coach, please. That would be, I'm sorry. I wouldn't get that one. But anyway, Brian Dable, if he's not hired as a head coach, then he'll be the offensive coordinator with the Titans. Mm-hmm. All right, drive around the SEC. Let's get to it. 3 games tonight. Number 15, Arkansas, traveling to Norman to face Oklahoma. Arkansas coming off a win. Oklahoma coming off you want to talk about getting gutted. Missouri hits a 3 to tie the game at the buzzer to go to overtime. The Missouri hits a 3 at the overtime buzzer to win the game against you. That's just craziness. Takes a lot to bounce back from that. And, you got number 15 Arkansas coming to your place. Now, the Razorbacks are better at home than they are on the road, but still, we'll see how Oklahoma bounces back from just an awful loss.
And their favorite 3.5.
Yeah,
I'll take Arkansas.
Absolutely. So that's tonight, 7 o'clock tip on ESPN, Arkansas going to Oklahoma. We've discussed this. Oklahoma is favored to win one more game all year, if you look at predictor models. If that is true, Oklahoma's going to have a really bad record.
Yeah.
Porter Moser might not survive this season. So that's tonight again, 7 o'clock ESPN. Bama, and again, it depends on, they're not healthy. I haven't had a chance to check yet to see if their second and third leading scorers will be available tonight as they host a good Missouri team in Tuscaloosa. The Tide lost at home to Tennessee over the weekend, but again, Alabama played that game without their second and third leading scorers, so we'll see what goes on there. The Tide hosting Missouri. Neither team, what you would call lockdown defenders. I think you take the over here.
Yep.
What is the over on this baby?
10.5.
No, that's the line.
Oh, that's the line? Okay.
Over's 165.5.
Yep.
There's going to be a lot of points in this game.
Yeah.
The other one, this is a good one.
Kentucky and Vanderbilt.
Kentucky traveling to Vanderbilt. Kentucky is kind of starting to get it together.
But Vanderbilt's really good at home.
Vanderbilt at home, 18th ranked Commodores. Got to win. They've been scuffling a little bit.
Yeah.
They got a W. At home against a Kentucky team, again, they've gotten better, have the Wildcats. They've kind of righted the ship a little bit at 14-6. And I believe the winners of, 4 straight? Is it 4 in a row? They lost to Missouri, and then since then they won 1, 2, 3, 5 in a row. So Kentucky's won 5 straight, but I think playing at Vandy and the Commodores are good, 17-3.
Yeah.
We'll see where that goes, but Vandy's 6.5-point favorite.
In Kentucky, they got to get Otega Oweh to continue what he did over the weekend, scoring 23 points against Ole Miss.
Well, the weird thing about Kentucky, they're not as good on offense as they typically are. They're usually a better offensive team, and it's been a little clunky this year so far, and Vanderbilt's really good on both ends of the court. The thing with Vanderbilt, though, and it's been exposed lately, not the most physical, athletic crew in the paint, and that's been hurting them. So we'll see what happens tonight. Again, Vanderbilt 6.5-point favorites. We'll talk more about that. We do Jay versus the Internet. Just saying. So those are 3 games in the SEC. Again, the Southeastern Conference, right now Texas A&M is in first place, which you'd make yourself some money if you had dropped that down in Vegas or Reno or wherever before the season started. Because, and look, I don't know how long that's going to last. A&M, they still have some really, really rugged games on their schedule, but we'll see. All right, Thursday, the women in the SEC get after it. Number 15, Tennessee, first place in the SEC, undefeated, will be playing Mississippi State, I believe, in a couple of weeks, Super Bowl weekend.
Yeah.
Tennessee will be here to take on the South Carolina Gamecocks. South Carolina has 3 winnable games stacked together. If Tennessee handles their business, that game here will be for first place.
Yes.
Because Tennessee will be a game ahead of South Carolina, but if the Gamecocks win, they'll be tied, and South Carolina will have the tiebreaker in hand.
Yep.
So Tennessee tonight against Mississippi State. Number 24, Bama. At number 23, Georgia on Thursday as well.
Georgia's really good.
Yeah, that's 6:30
At
SEC
home.
Network. And yep, Georgia being at home.
Yep.
Number 4, Texas travels to Florida. That game will be 7 o'clock. Number 10, Oklahoma, hosting Texas A&M. Another 7 p.m. tip.
Yep.
Number 5, Vanderbilt. They just lost a game for the first time all year. Who'd they lose to again?
The South Carolina Gamecocks.
Was that a close game?
No, because Carolina put up 100 plus against Vanderbilt.
Whooped Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt will visit number 17, Ole Miss, Thursday night, 7:30 tip. Number 6, LSU will host Arkansas at 8 o'clock Thursday. South Carolina still has to play out. Still has to play. And that game, the LSU game, is in Baton Rouge.
And that's on Valentine's Day night.
Is that Valentine's Day night?
Yes.
Nice. And then number 3, South Carolina, Thursday, traveling to the Plains to face Auburn.
And Auburn's not it's not that team that rolls and die over. They're going to compete for 40 minutes. So it's going to be an interesting game.
Even though I think South Carolina will.
They will run
business. But still, that is on our sister station, B106.7 on Thursday. Carolina Calls here on Thursday on 107.5 The Game in Columbia and 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. Again, that's Carolina Calls with Lamont Paris and Derek Scott. All right, there's your drive around the SEC. We'll pop back in here, do a little Jay versus the Internet, and catch up on some stories that we have not caught up on yet, or re-rack a couple things before we get out of here on the post-game show. Jalen steering the ship. Terry Ford, 19 minutes left till we're done here on the game. Wrapping up the post-game show. Coming up next, best of the game. Then we will roll with some Dan Patrick. And then the Chuck Oliver Show. Southern Sports Tonight. All that between now and midnight here on the game. All right, Jalen, pop us a little millionaire music. We'll do a few men's college basketball games for tonight. Taking a look at the spread. We talk about a lot of these games in the SEC tonight. And we'll just hit a couple of those real quick. Missouri, Alabama. Bama by 10.5. I think Missouri covers, but well, no, you know what? Let me take it back. Alabama just lost at home to Tennessee. I think Alabama, if Alabama is healthy tonight, they'll cover 10.5 against Missouri. Bama's angry. Also
Very angry.
Yes. Also tonight, Vanderbilt 6.5-point favorite over Kentucky. I'm going to take Vandy to win, but Kentucky covers a 6.5, but Vandy wins at home.
I agree.
Couple others. This is a titanic battle tonight. 7 o'clock on Peacock. Number 5, an undefeated Nebraska, one of 3 undefeated teams in the country, will travel to Michigan to face the Wolverines, who are 18-1, by the way. They're only lost to Wisconsin. Michigan is an 11.5-point favorite. I think Michigan wins, but I think Nebraska keeps it close. So I will take Nebraska in the points, but I think Michigan gets the W.
I think, yes. I was about to say, I think Michigan is going to win. They're so good at home.
Michigan's just filthy.
And they're just phenomenal to watch on TV.
They are just crazy. Last night, now I stayed up for this, baby. Number 1 and undefeated Arizona went to Provo to face number 13 BYU.
Lord have mercy.
Arizona's up 19 in the second half. It looked like a wrap. Game was over. And then BYU made a comeback. There was some questionable officiating in the last minute that benefited BYU. But BYU cut this thing to 1. And they had the ball. And everybody's favorite future possible number 1 pick,
A.J. DeBonsta.
DeBonsta had the rock, went to the rack, couldn't finish the play. Also in that game, Robert Wright, a transfer from Baylor, also had a shot with it being a 1-point game. And Wright went up. He got away from his defender, went up to, and it looked like it was going to be a clean look to give BYU the lead. And then Braden Burris, the freshman from Arizona, blocked it. It was a really good basketball game. DeBonsta, by the way, struggled. Only 6 of 24 from the floor, 1 of 8 from 3. Did get to the line 16 times. Had 5 assists and 4 boards. Even in a bad night, and AJ had a bad night, you can still see how bleeping good he is.
Yeah, and Burris
tons of talent.
Had 29 points.
He can play, man.
He can flat out play, man.
Arizona runs a lot of freshmen because also Pete and Burris, the 2 leading scorers, are both freshmen. Bradley, the point guard who transferred from Alabama, has been really good this year. Arizona is excellent. We'll see how they do in the NCAA, how those freshmen do in the NCAA tournament against grown men.
And they're doing it without Bryce James.
Yeah,
and he hasn't even played yet.
Arizona's good, man. Arizona is good. There's no doubt about it. So I just want to get into that. And Duke, by the way. You want to talk about good?
Man.
Duke took apart Louisville last night.
Yeah. It just shows you that it's hard to win at Cameron Indoor Stadium when a big-time matchup or a big-time team comes into your place. It's just difficult.
Duke has a few, look, Duke has some vets, but that Boozer kid, man.
We say this every week, that he just gets better and
the thing
better.
About him, he has some old school in his game.
Yes.
Last night he's posting dudes up. Did a little spin move. He set a guy up in the post. He did an old school spin move off of him for a layup. He can also shoot from the perimeter. He passes it. Solid handle. He's not like a twitchy, crazy athlete like AJ.
But he's a traditional
Boozer can
player.
Just ball, man.
Yeah.
He's really good. So anyway, that was last night in college basketball. All right, real quick, again, if you missed it, Darian Mensah, the former Duke quarterback, and the university came to an agreement. Basically, from Mensah's side, whether it's Mensah's people, the school he ends up at, Miami, or money is going to be paid. Duke is getting compensated financially in return for letting Mensa go and not continuing on litigating against Mensa. That's just kind of what the agreement is. Mensa will move on again. It's just slimy, man. Look, again, schools are going to put in these NIL agreements, binding language, that if you try to get out and leave, here's how much you have to pay the school in a buyout situation. The Big Ten's doing it. That's why Williams stayed, the quarterback at UW. You got to put stuff in the agreement. If you want to leave, you got to compensate us because we've been compensating you. You're breaking your agreement. Here's how much you owe. And something has to be done once a kid signs with that school, whether it's the financial aid agreement, the rev share, when you sign and you start going to school and doing team activities, you shouldn't be able to jump back in the portal because some school decides they're going to try to, like, poach you. Someone's got to do something, man, because this is it's slimy. Just slimy.
Folks don't read before they sign the dotted line, and it's just crazy.
The whole thing is,
yeah.
Things have to be done here. Someone at some point has got to stand up and man up. And again, look, with this Darian Mensah thing, Darian Mensah is a young adult. He's not 4 years old. He's not walking around, in a diaper at 2.5 years old. He knows what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
He's just doing what all the adults do in college athletics. Go for the money. No one cares. You're following the adults' lead in college athletics. But Mensah knows what he did was dirty to Duke. The school that's chasing him, Miami, They know what they're doing is dirty. The agent doesn't care. He just wants the money. No one around Mensah saying, hey, you know what, man? You signed an agreement and you did a video saying you're staying. You got to own up to your agreement and be a man.
Yep.
So since no one wants to, quote unquote, man up and do the right things, you got to start putting some parameters in place. Someone's got to do something, man. I know, collective bargaining agreement. Yeah.
I agree.
That's it. So the Mensah thing got settled today. In case you didn't hear, Joe Brady's the new head coach of the Buffalo Bills. We talked about that in the 5 o'clock news. You promote from within. Maybe Brady's a gem that we don't know enough about. It just feels like the Bills hired one of Josh Allen's buds.
Hey, Terry, what's going on with Adam Schefter here?
Well, we're going to get to that in a second. Also hired today, Mike McCarthy was official by the Steelers. Jesse Mentor will be introduced to the media by the Ravens on Thursday. There's 3 open spots. Here's what Adam Schefter said about the openings that still are in the NFL.
But I would think that we would have all these head coaching jobs filled this week, probably sooner rather than later. I wouldn't be surprised if by Wednesday there are no openings left at this point in time.
That's tomorrow. Raiders,
I'll give it to Friday.
Browns, Cardinals.
And the Cardinals.
Nobody wants the Cardinal job. Nobody wants the Raider job. Nobody wants the Browns job. Well, I shouldn't say nobody. Nobody with any resume of experience wants those jobs. Some up-and-comer is going to get a chance. Maybe some retread who's dying for a chance. And look, the hires could work out.
Yeah.
Who knows? But that's what you're looking at right now with these 3 openings.
But out of those 3 teams, the Browns is the hottest job out of those 3. I mean...
Yeah, but you got crappy ownership there.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have a quarterback. I'm sorry, you have a Pro Bowl quarterback. That's a joke.
That was another, thing that happened yesterday.
7 TDs, 10 picks, you're a Pro Bowler. Okay. That's why I don't take the Pro Bowl thing seriously. If anyone ever says, anyway, that guy's a Pro Bowler, I'm going to go, yeah, so Shedeur Sanders. So... Anyway, Cleveland doesn't have a quarterback. They got bad ownership. Arizona, the quarterback situation is
very controversial.
Kyler Murray, again, there's a reason why.
I think he's done.
Well, look, he's got to grow up.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of skill. He's got to grow up. So you don't know what you got at quarterback in Arizona. You got bad ownership there. You got bad ownership in Vegas, and they're going to take Mendoza first overall. So we know who their quarterback eventually will be. Jalen, good job. Jay, excellent work hanging with us. Terry Ford, thanks for putting up with us today. We'll do it again tomorrow at 3. Best of the game is next. This is the postgame show on the game.